Yeah. It's
So,
that's my cat actually.
ah,
Say hello.
ah, ah. What's his name?
Silver, but
Ah,
really it's called Little Cat.
little cat,
Little Cat.
little cat.
Big Cat is around here somewhere. They have names, but
Yes.
going by Big Cat and Little Cat. That's their
Uh,
how we
I
know them.
we
This one
we
is
had as
very
many as
talkative.
five. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Also, this one's very talkative, so you'll hear her a lot.
Oh, good. We had as many as five for most of our life, but since 2018, we lost them one after another, and then Tiger went, and he was my best friend. Yeah, and I just killed me. And so now we're down to one. We just got a little girl, one of the orange tigers that's rarely female.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's like one out of every seven is a female tiger, an orange cat, orange and jobless.
I love that. Orange and jobless. They're celebrated. We love them with they have um they have their own spirits for sure. They are not
Oh yeah, just
they're
like us.
yeah, they're just like us. Uh, and I was always what would have considered to be a dog person, still am, I guess. But these cats were gifted to me by my children. They found them on the street,
Oh,
and uh, and I can't live without them now.
exactly.
They're they're so incredibly they're full of life and full of spirit and
Yeah.
full of thought, and
Yes.
I can.
I think that's the full of thought because I love dogs too, but dogs somehow live through you and because of you. Cats live independently like human beings, and
Yes.
they just love you. They decide to love you or not, as you are loving to them, and that's just wonderful. I mean, you really have a friend that understands your emotions. If you're loving to your cat, they're loving to you. You have a true friend that understands your emotions and will accept it wherever you are without saying, "Oh, pet me," do that a dog does. A cat will just sit there and look at you and be with you and know that you need something.
Yeah, and they do select you, don't they?
Oh, definitely.
They
Usually I found I've had 18 in my life, and I found that the person that finds them first is often the person that they select. Like if Sharon went out to the vet and picked up Sandra Kay, which she did, then Sandra Kay has become her child. If I found and loved Tiger because he was a feral cat, and over 5 6 years I tamed him and brought him inside, and then he became the most loving thing I've ever. Just so smart. Oh, there was a big cat, 18 pound and big brain, and he just changed, and you could see him changing. Well, I can't be mean like this. I don't need to protect myself. They love me. I'm going to make changes. And every couple years there was a big change that he made and then instituted to become a more loving mammal, and finally just the most loving mammal on the face of the earth that I've ever experienced. So
well,
um
I want to firstly say thank you.
yes.
I know how busy you are. I know how your time is dedicated to teaching right now and how important keeping that schedule is. So thank you for putting me in your time. Thank you very, very much. I'm grateful. I want to meet with
I'm grateful. Excuse me. It's wonderful to still be talked about in any format when you've been out of it since for at least 15, 18 years. So I'm grateful.
I ISV has a class that has been um, I have it written, the curriculum for it. We've not implemented into the school yet because it is going to be, it will be put into the program when the official conservatory graduate school is in existence, which
Okay.
is 2 years out now. But we have a course that is about not just the art form of opera. It's not just an opera history course, but it's a course of the art form and its interpreters. That's its actual title.
Uh,
So it is about the singers
mhm.
that made the art form
They did
what
it,
it
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So it's a study of our people, our those that came before us, those that premiered the roles, those that kept the legacy of the roles. And
Sure.
one of the most important interpreters of Wagner's music that's still living is you, Maestro. And
Uh,
it is vital that not only do we discuss that, but that we get what beautiful wisdom you have to share with us about it. You're the foremost interpreter of it, and additionally, you are giving that gift of that knowledge to the leading Wagnerians of the contemporary stage right now. So, I will have on the recording, I'll have your biography, uh,
sure.
all of
Okay.
that available for everyone to read, because if I did that now, we would be here for at least five
Oh,
minutes.
yeah, yeah. Oh, my
But I mean, in short, you've sung the most important roles of the dramatic tenor repertoire, especially those of Wagner, with every prolific conductor and every important theater worldwide. Um, Most significantly, perhaps, is Siegfried. I can't think of anyone else who is um, outside of your current tenors who interpret Siegfried so brilliantly. So I'd love to start, if I could, with your students, really. I mean, who you're teaching right now, who are you mentoring, and not just as a Wagnerian, but in general. Talk to me a little bit about that, and then I want to dig definitely into Wagner.
Well, uh, Clay Hilly, Issachar Savage, um, James Taylor. Um, you have to forgive me. I've been on this heart medicine and this anti-AFib medicine slows me down because it cuts the electricity in my heart and it makes me too tired. I'm not going to be able to take it. It just makes me too tired, but it also makes a mishmash of pea soup up here.
Yeah.
So, um, if I'd known you were going to do that, I would have gotten out my students
Well,
because I forget them, frankly. Um, Let me get my calendar. That'll remind me. Hold on a sec.
yes, yes.
Okay, back. Ah. So in the Wagnerians, I have Jessica Sandage, by the way. Also, she just came on board, and she's wonderful. You know, only between you and me and the fence post, sometimes she thinks of herself as a lighter voice than she actually is. She's in full maturity, and so we're all telling her, I'm not. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one alone, but that this is a major Wagnerian voice. I don't know if you know Emilio Ponce.
Yes. I mean,
I've got
yeah, I know.
Emilio is my student.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's developing quite nicely. Finally, he's gotten to the point where I can help him with all the ascent to the high notes. Um, oh gosh, I've got a great lyric baritone right now, John Nelson, who's doing
Uh-huh.
Germont and doing it beautifully. Um, uh, uh, of course, Solène, who is now at 28, finally developed. I don't know. It's just like it's since 26, the maturity of her body, the maturity of her mind,
Yeah,
and
that's
therefore the voice has followed suit.
yeah. She's
So she just did
wonderful.
her first Traviata wonderfully. She's just singing the heck out of Juliet, um, with a bigger voice. So it has wonderful qualities of Nadine, but Nadine is a coloratura, generous coloratura, but a coloratura. Selene is really a lyric that now has a lyric that has great coloratura ability, but her ease of voice is in the lyric side. So Juliet is coming beautifully.
She's a very
Um,
charming artist, truly
yes, amazing.
very well wrote.
Jamie. I have Laura Zahn. I don't know if you know Laura. A great mezzo. They're just doing beautifully. I'm just so pleased. Getting her voice is just in the great shape that I need. Alexia Mate, a wonderful coloratura that a typical violinist in nature because she is excellent and perfect, and sometimes forgets that perfection is not what we need when we're doing a human character. So she's just getting into learning real interpretive values toward that.
So,
And so, I go back to Clay because Clay is just a mastermind of abilities, and his favorite, he said, he comes here every year for a couple of weeks, sometimes with his wife and sometimes not. And so last year all of a sudden I got this entire set of GNS. And who sent this? Well, it turns out, I said, what do you send me GNS? I don't, I'm not a GNS. I mean, it's okay, but I'm not a beloved hobbyist. Well, Clay is.
Gilbert and
He's
Sullivan, for those that don't know. Yeah.
Gilbert and Sullivan, and he's starting clubs virtually every place that he spends time. He's got a GNS club in Berlin now.
He's something else. He's got such a big, lovely social
Yeah.
presence online. People love
Yes,
him. He's
I do too.
hilarious. He's brave. He's bold.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. He's
Yeah,
wonderful.
he really is.
Yeah.
I first got him to sing the Dvorak Dimitri, and they put the whole Dimitri together. I mean, the whole thing that most people cut out, and so on and so on, and very high and yet low at the same time. So, and he was just spectacular. And then we worked on Tote Stadt.
Hmm.
I've heard Tote Stadt all the way back to the 70s. And I have never heard it develop right. So you really got the feeling that you've been through therapy with it,
Hmm.
because really it's a therapeutic psychological drama, if anything. And for the first time, his reading on that touched me so deeply that I started the last half an hour. I started crying in the audience, and I continued crying for 2 hours. Now I don't. I'm not a crier at opera. Usually I'm a sleeper, but I'm not, I'm not a crier.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it was so meaningful, and Clay just has that ability, and so it's wonderful. We talk of each other as son and father. I'm Heldenvater, and he's Heldensohn.
Tell me, Maestro. So I want to know about your trajectory. So you began in Ohio. You're born in Ohio, Toledo, right?
Dayton,
Dayton,
Dayton.
Dayton. Uh, and when did you know that you were a singer?
Well, let's put it this way. I knew I was a musician from 3 on up.
Mm,
My mother said that I was singing. I don't remember this, but my mother said that I was singing whenever I did chores from about 3 on up.
mhm.
And I started out in drums and piano and a little bit on the violin when I was 6. So, and I thought I wanted to be a conductor. And now today when I see the shape of conducting, I wish I could go through that. but but when my father died, he dropped dead at my aunt's funeral when I was 12 and got right into the Dayton Rotary Boys Choir. Now, because I had a lush quality even then, I thought I was a baritone.
Mm.
But my teacher and became my dear father, surrogate father and friend, James Wilson, said, "Well, son, I'll take you, but I won't take you as a baritone. You
Mm.
are a tenor. And if you want to study with me, and we'll get that going." So I started studying at 13. I had a quick puberty. It was like a 2 week sojourn, and and my voice went right to where from boy alto to tenor, and
Wow.
stayed there within 2 3 weeks. So, but then he heard when I was around 15, he said, "Well, I hate to tell you," and I'll tell you why he said that way because he said, "You're going to probably be this rare thing called a Heldentenor." And of course, I didn't know what that was because in Dayton, we had a lot of opportunity, but they were opportunity for Italian. Uh, Tucker came all the time. Charlie Bressler, Pierce came all the time.
Mhm.
And if they weren't in Dayton, they were an hour away in Cincinnati Zoo Opera when it was actually at the zoo,
That's interesting.
um,
That.
which was a hoot because the
Yeah.
animals sometimes they go, ah, 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 wah, 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 and just stop the audience cold.
Oh my God.
And so it was much more, shall we say, atmospheric than it is now.
That's what.
And and I miss those days actually. But everybody was there. I mean, Charlie Kuhlman, everybody that was anybody at any point in the 20th century, it stopped by Cincinnati. So I grew up wanting to be the archetypal Italian French tenor.
Sure.
But as I grew older, everybody said, "Son, I hate to tell you, but you're going to be this." And that's when Mr. Wilson said, "You're probably going to be that." I had such Sturm und Drang of depression over this. I didn't know who Wagner, yuck.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it was that way all through my 20s when people kept telling me this. And people would say, "You want to be famous yet? You want to be a star yet?" No, I want to do what I want to do. So it was not till Zubin that I sang for Meta, for the Gur leader, and he said, "I want to tell you right off, John, I'll never hire you for Italian ever in the world, unless you get super duper famous, and that's probably not going to happen. So you are a German Slavic tenor. You've got to accept it, you've got to relish it, and you've got to learn it." And since he hired me for the Gur leader and offered me a year and a half of coaching every time he was in town, which was wonderful. Uh,
Extraordinary.
yeah, extraordinary. And I was so lucky. And that turned me on to it. I mean, at first it was exhausting. And I remember throwing myself over my mother's bed saying, "Oh, me too little. I can't do this. Me too little."
How old were you when you got the opportunity to sing for Maestro Meta?
31.
Okay. How did
31.
you, so from school, I think you began in
High school.
yes. So from
Yeah.
there to Meta, what was that trajectory like?
Well, I did my first Bohème when I was 17 with piano. I had already sung one act, believe it or not, of Barbiere. Came to New York singing The Duke, Belmonte in The Abduction, and Così in Ferrando, and Faust.
Okay.
And that was my first year at 22 in New York. Um, and but at the same time, I was working on Canio. So my first Canio was 24.
Wow.
And although I thought I did all of them quite well, the response on Canio was more. It was, "Wow, that's going to be your role. That is your voice, blah, blah, blah," and of course, again, I didn't want to quite accept the level of seriousness of the compliments, but I did take note. I'm not stupid. So I took note on that. and I did my first. So I continued doing the Italian repertoire, um, and then I did my first Fidelio when I was 28, Florestan, and but I also made some mistakes in the other direction, like I sang a very loud Lucia di Lammermoor with Lee Monroe out in Kentucky when I was 26, and Baumhard called me up, Moritz, and said, you may not want to ever sing this again. So again, I listened. I didn't. Um, but then that whole time of change from 28 to 32, which I always, in my voice teaching, I always say the 8 to the 2 area, 38 to 42, 48 to
Mhm,
52.
mhm.
Those are the big changes that you've got to stay on top
Yes.
of. And so as that changed, I then started doing cagnos and very dramatic Don Jose's and Turandot forever. It seemed like Turandot would never die. Um, and in came the Das Lied von der Erde, the Gurlieder. Then my first staged Walküre in, let's see, what was I? I guess I was about 34, 35 in Bologna.
Mm,
And it went from there. So I did my last Verdi Requiem in 1990, my last Turandot in 94,
mm.
and all the Wagner, all the that which my voice was destined to do, because as I was getting older, of course, the gristle of the vocal cords getting harder and more more durable.
Let me
So
ask you about that. So,
okay.
what would you say, well, is there a specific, the lifestyle of being, let's say, a Wagnerian, the lifestyle of a Heldentenor? What, if there is there a difference between that and a lyric? What is that
Yes,
life like?
I go to the old film of Popeye. Well, he's loud. Sharon always used to say, "Why are you talking so loud?" I said, "Just because I just practiced Wagner for 2 hours. What do you expect?"
Yeah.
So, but that's a humorous way of saying yes. There's quite a difference, because the real Wagnerian, the dramatische Heldentenor, not the Jungerlich, which has easier high. Not that I didn't have high. I up till 1992, I still had a high C sharp that I could knock off any day. So the Cuyus Animam
Hmm.
and was not a problem for me up till that time. But still, there is a weight of voice, there is a volume of voice, and it's just more. uh, It's just more. It's just 5 pounds of bologna, and you don't want to stick it in a 2 pound bag. And as you've
It's great. Okay.
you
That makes
you've got
that's very clear. That image is very,
right.
yeah, I get it. Okay.
I say, and so you do develop, and as your vocal cords harden out, which certainly happens in the early 40s, all of a sudden everything just sets in. Everything that was harder, that you couldn't access your lower chest voice in your low voice, it wasn't there, it wasn't strong. All of a sudden it is. And
Mhm.
the high notes, well, you can still hit a C and all, but you don't want to live there anymore.
Yeah.
B flat, B natural becomes the height of what you want to achieve. And if you can achieve it without cracking, as other certain Helden tenors of great note couldn't get to B flat without cracking on a pretty regular basis, you want that solid, and so the vocal cords get to that point where that solidity just feels good. And
Hmm.
so it was around 44 with Tannhäuser that I just felt, wow, this is now setting into where I wanted to be
Hmm.
and where I always envisioned it, but I wasn't sure I was ever going to get there. And then all of a sudden I was. It wasn't all of a sudden. That's too offhand. It was a lot of work, but I noted it when it happened. Let's put it that way, in a very special light. And with that ascent, the Italian that I'd done since I was 32, like Otello, which I was 32, and all through my 30s, Otello was nothing. I mean, it was as easy as pie to me. But by the time I was 48, not so, because my voice had gone down, and Otello's second act, of course, goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I could no longer feel comfortable getting to the end of the second act of Otello at 48, from 46 to 48. And that was my last singing of that. I said, okay, that's not working anymore like it used to. So done.
So, with the voice developing in a way where you're saying the chords harden, loss of hormone, age, all of these things play a role. And I would venture to also say that just uh, the development also of the muscles themselves, using them so
Oh,
well
sure.
over the years, you genuinely build them to this
Of
level,
course.
right?
Of
Just like
course. You
any other
build.
muscle. It's not different anatomically speaking. So now you've
Absolutely.
got this beefy set of chords. Uh, which this style of writing requires because I mean just thinking about the term Gesamtkunstwerk and the length, the breadth, breadth, right?
Mhm.
The width of the line itself being equally met with orchestration, being equally met with the grandeur of the staging in and of set, and of the text itself.
Sure.
The way it's written in a way that seems to have space in it. Uh, how do
It's just
you?
it's just fatter. It's just fatter. You know,
Yes,
there's one. I don't mean fat in technically speaking, but I
right.
mean, like you said, the breadth of the sound is wider.
It's
So you
just
can't have the Mediterranean brightness as your primary
exactly.
quality. You have a much more um, you've got a lot deeper cello sound, perhaps even a young bass viol, and trumpet at the same time, and that's what you've got to encourage and find able to do for 3.5, 4 hours. Uh, where most people would be shut and done after 2 hours. I'm still going at 3 hours and 17 minutes.
It's truly heroic,
It is. It
not just
is.
philosophically speaking, but I mean physically, it's
Yeah.
heroic. How
Oh
do
yeah.
you? And as far as lifestyle is concerned, how would you prepare for a role like that? I mean, what is your days? What do they look like when you're
A
getting ready?
lot of a lot of sleep.
Mm. Followed by though a lot of work,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
I would, if I had, as you know, in Germany, it's 5 o'clock. Usually it's the start, unless it's Götterdämmerung, and then it's at 4. So I would get up at around 11:30. I would go right out to take a good walk, about a half an hour, not fast, not slow, just a walk. And inevitably, when I did take my walk, I sang better, no matter how carefully I warmed up.
Mm,
And then I'd come back home and eat, prepare my dressing room stuff, whatever that was, food to what I wanted to lay out on my dressing room table, and so on and so forth. And then I would wind up at the Opera House by 3. So at 3, I laid all that out. I got my mind involved into things. Oh, I skipped a part. After I came home, I did take a bath because hot water improves my memory. So
mm,
I would run through, just in my mind, I would run through the text of the evening.
mhm,
So then skip back to being at the dressing room. So I would be in makeup by about 3:30, 3:45. I would then, when I was done with makeup, I would come and do about, 10 to 12 minutes of aerobics.
mhm,
Uh, then I would rest for 10 minutes. Then I did 10 minutes of warm up or more, depending on, and that's sometimes with a heavy, thick voice, you really have to almost sing a whole act. And oftentimes I would warm up on the better part of Act 1 of Turandot.
mm.
So, the voice was, I'd found my blend of squillante and forward and yet laryngeal sound. And, and then I was ready. Then 10, 15 minutes with nobody talking to me and just sitting down and praying to God that I can get through this again.
What is laid out in your dressing room to get you through an evening of Wagner? What kinds of proteins and fats and sugars are there?
Well,
Everybody has their snacks, their routines.
I had a Snickers candy bar
Okay.
because oftentimes the work of Act One would get me a little too nervous. So I need some sugar to
Yeah.
pull me down. And there's a Zucken, Traubenzucker,
Aha.
that little, like lifesavers, except they're a little bigger. And I would have that. I would also allow myself, I only allowed myself 1 cup, and I mean a cup, not a mug of coffee,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want the drying agent. And so at the theater, I would allow myself 1 other cup with the idea that I would not consume more than a half a cup of it throughout the show.
Mm-hmm.
I also had bromelain
Okay.
if my body didn't feel good, and I had reparil, the uh, horse chestnut, Asen, made by Madaus, that you can now find online.
Let me pause you and ask you about those two things, bromelain and the horse chestnut. So you would take them and you would find an immediate improvement?
I took them the night before,
Ah, okay.
but not during the day of the show because I didn't want to get stuck on the fact that I had to take this to sing well.
Right.
I wanted to sing well, and if I was tired or had too much schmutz coming down from the sinuses during the night, then okay, so I was a little raw. So then I would need it. But the bromelain, of course, is a great anti-inflammatory for the entire body,
Mm-hmm.
and the horse chestnut is specific to the vocal cords.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So and it's 1 level under steroid. So you're not steroiding, you're not doing anything. It's perfectly natural. You can even have a shot if you're sick or
Of
in a
horse
bad
chestnut?
way of horse chestnut, the asin of Madaus. Yes.
Wow. And
So
so it's an anti-inflammatory, but it works specifically for those tissues.
the voice, yes, it was designed. Madaus built it for actors and people that use their voice too much.
Well, that wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it is a wonderful product, and Falk Stockman. Yeah, Falk. He said, "Well, I eat them like candy. Just give them to me now. Give them. I like them very much."
Oh my God. So I didn't know that about horse chestnut. Now I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, it's a different, so in preparing for a role, for a specific role like this, also your rehearsal days would look similarly in that you're working many hours. Would you let yourself use the whole voice during rehearsal periods? How did you
Well,
manage that?
that's a very good question, and if I'm going to be honest, and unlike some of our older contemporaries like George London, I think we have to be honest about what we didn't do well.
Mm,
Not try to paint it over as if everything was great because we were gods. That was my Achilles heel, in point of fact. I sang too much
mhm,
because I love to sing. See, I never did it for fame or money, which in my time in career, there was still money in it and quite a bit of fame. But that's not why I did it. I did it because I love to do it. I love to sing. And I often think for me, it was a bodily, spiritual pleasure,
mhm,
like like eating, like making love, like any of these things that we if we really let ourselves feel the beauty of it and the pleasure of it, then it becomes your drug of choice.
mhm.
And so it was for me.
Mm,
So a day without opening my mouth for real was not a happy day for me,
mm.
and I could get prickly. The Irishman in me, like likes to talk a little treason, and so so yes, I use my voice too much, way too much actually, and so I had to be very careful, and and sometimes I wasn't. I remember one time I was doing Tristan with uh, oh Bernard, the conductor of Holland. I can't think of Bernard Haitink, and the opening night was on Saturday, and our final dress rehearsal was on Wednesday. And he really wanted me to mark, which I did, except that I lost it in Act Three.
Hmm.
I sang the whole Act Three, and he was so angry at me. And I didn't blame him because actually I was tired for opening night. I got to Act Three, and I thought, oh, geez, I am tired physically, and that's not right. I shouldn't say. And so my lack of discipline there cost me a few marks as I got older.
Mm-hmm.
And so I oftentimes had to call in sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I had doctors throughout Germany, and that would write a note for me. In fact, two of my best friends were my doctors, and they would travel. If I got them a ticket, they would travel to see me and write me a note on the spot that they couldn't dock my pay and couldn't fire me because I had the official Arzt note that said, I had a bad case of the epizootics.
Mm-hmm. So pacing and the discipline of pacing it's another craft, really.
Yes, indeed. Even Domingo said that. The difficulty is not getting the role because that usually, if you're good enough, you'll get a role at some point. The difficulty is how do you get through the rehearsal period
Mm-hmm.
and still have a voice left for all the performances.
That's right.
And I can't say that I mastered that completely. I got decent at it, but mostly I used my star power to say, I'm not coming in for this. You put a dress rehearsal on the Michael Tilson Thomas. We were doing Malala in 1989, which is an epic work. I mean, it just goes on forever, and it has dance and it has chorus and just spoken parts, blah, 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 blah. And so he said, it's a 4.5 hour work.
Wow.
And he set the dress rehearsal on the day of the performance
Oh my God.
at the Barbican in London. Well, from the very beginning, I told him I'm not going to be there. So
Same day, rehearsal and show.
same day. So I told him early on, I'm not going to be able to do it. Well, we had a big argument, and to make a long story short, he said, "Well, I know you'll do what's best for the production." And I looked right at Michael and I said, "You're right. I will do what's best for the production."
Okay.
So on that day, I did not come. Everybody else did.
Mm-hmm.
It went on long. It went on long. So by the time they got done, which was after 2 o'clock, they couldn't even have time to take it because of the traffic. They couldn't even have time to get in a cab and get back and rest a while, get their clothes and eat something and get back. So
Wow.
some of them just literally took a cab, got right out, took the clothes right back, and they all sounded very, very, very tired.
Yeah.
So Tilson Thomas comes to my dressing room after the show, and I let him in, and he says, "Well, I want to tell you something. If anybody had ever done to me what you did to me today, I would never hire them again in the entire world, and I would blackball them. But you did teach me something." I said, "Oh, well, what was that?" He said, "Because everybody sounded terrible except you."
Huh.
And I said, "Yes,
Look at that.
because we have a law of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
When the body is done, the voice is done. And you cannot do that." So I learned just to call in sick. Of course, it made people very angry, and they would try to call me forever, and I would just not answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But if they were going to be that stupid to put a Gura leader dress rehearsal on the day of a performance, then that was their problem, not mine.
Yeah,
And since they couldn't fire me at that moment because there was nobody else to come in and do it, I was only concerned with my performance and my uh, audience to get something that was reasonably valuable.
of course.
So that's what I learned, that you have to protect yourself whatever happens. And of course, it would have been better had I been a person that had a little bit more self-control in rehearsals. And I got about halfway there, but I still screwed up. Um,
Well, but you are the commodity. The voice, the person running the machine is the commodity.
that's it. And you can't be afraid that you're going to make some people angry.
Yeah,
You're going to make some people angry anyway. Beniamino Gigli, when he quit in 57, he said, "You're lucky if 55% of the audience likes you. The other 30% hates you, but are too polite to say anything about it. And the rest of them may try to boo you off the stage." He said, "That's the way it is." And this was one of the great tenors of the 20th century.
20th century. Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
that's what he said about it. So,
Huh.
like, okay, we all need to grow up a tad and say, well, I'm sorry if there are a thousand other candidates behind me. There's nothing I can do about that. I have to be true to my voice. I have to be true to the art, and I have to, most importantly, be true to the audience because they're the ones that will write letters and take up subscriptions for the next X amount of years if I'm there.
Yeah. 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 They are the consumers of that commodity. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me pivot and ask you about, let's talk technique. The way that we are the sound that we're all looking for, this what we could call bel canto, the Italian lyric style of singing. Um, Talk to me about how you see that, how because you're not just in your own singing, but you have all of these beautiful students with different types of instruments that sing with a beautiful legato. But none of them sound exactly like the other. So it's obvious as an observer, technically speaking, I hear that whichever studio these people are in, they are obviously being encouraged to use their voice um, in the most organic way possible. They are also those students that work with you, those artists are also the owners of their voice. Cognitively speaking, they create their own work. They don't sound like carbon copies of something else.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
but but what's lovely about that also is that they all sing very well with a beautiful legato. So can we talk legato? What is that to
Well,
you? How do you perceive it, teach it?
I think as I have effectively been teaching since I didn't know how to teach. My first group of students I was 16 years old. And all through each decade, I had a couple years where I taught people. And then I would get so busy again, I didn't feel good about it, so I'd have to dismiss them. But now I've been teaching regularly since 2010. And many of the things that I was coming to have been codified. The primary codification is this: we make too much of dissimilarities rather than similarities.
Mm,
We all eat, we all swallow,
mm-hmm,
we all go to the bathroom,
mm-hmm.
and every other bodily function that we do, we all basically, unless we're physically altered because of a abnormality of birth or our development in vitro, um, we 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 use the same group of muscles, maybe in a slightly different way, maybe not as much, maybe more, but it's all similar. And when we make too much of the difference and make up stuff, pretty images rather than images that relate directly to the muscle manipulation, the muscle use of what we do, then we get ourselves in trouble. I often think of really very good teachers like Michael Trimble or something that kept subdividing an issue. Breath. How do you use breath? And then he'd subdivide it with 3 or 4 other concepts of breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got news for him and everybody else. I don't have the time to think about that when I'm on stage. If you really want to give me 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different ways of breathing, then it's not for me because I'm in a character and I have to be able to be natural to that character, which means a certain degree of acting that I am spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have no time for thought. I have only time to eat that piece of steak and swallow it. And even then, it's hurried.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to get down to basic things that all of us experience. That is the proper pressurized low breath of the lower pelvic floor. Then I don't believe in any kind of thing of masking. I think the singers that mask, including Marilyn Horne, as she went more and more and more toward masking, got less and less interesting vocally. A bright, steely sound that actually was a lot smaller than what Marilyn Horne started out when she was starting out as a dramatic soprano, and then went to mezzo. From that was a much more interesting singer than what she wound up with, even though she could do very fast coloratura. Okay, big deal. I'm sorry, it wasn't interesting. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't human. And her bigger works, such as Samson and Delilah, proved that it wasn't right. So I don't believe in masking. I believe what Corelli, who was very, very good with technique and thoughts, even though he got nervous himself, he said, no, it's always laryngeal. That laryngeal quality, that hoot, has to be in everything you do. And if it isn't, something's wrong. And then the final thing is, why do we want Italian? Because it's a forward language. It's an aggressive, forward language.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is not.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is more and more relaxed, hardly pronounced. And if it is, it's sort of that sound.
And this forward language
Ma questo, quello.
exactly would allow there to be with the non-masking, the laryngeal work, and
Right.
this forwardness now creates a balance. You
A
have
good squillante, and it doesn't matter
and the
what
squeal.
language. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Kuda, kuda. Questo, quella. Mein Schwert verhieß mir der Vater. So Gigli, again, another, both Caruso and Gigli wrote extensively about technique that people sort of ignore, which is sad. But Gigli himself said, if you're going to sing in Swahili, you must use the Italian forward setup of the vowels.
Mm.
Because that will give you the squillante you need, the size of instrument you need, and the excitement of the molecules activating in the air in an auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, he was right.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter whether you're a lyric soprano or a dramatic soprano. You have to recognize, okay, that's the voice. I can't do anything about that. I don't want to change her voice, but I want her to use it as best as possible.
Yeah.
And so to get that voice, whether it's Roberta Peters or Birgit Nielsen, to get it up front, to get it well supported, for her to understand what use of the pelvic floor is, how that really actually feels,
Mm-hmm.
and what it means. It's not just talk. I think of Roberta Peters back in 1951 doing that 41-page picture in Life magazine about working out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And one of the pictures is her friend Joseph Pilates
right.
standing on her midriff. Well, that's no trick. I used to win $100 bets. Walk into a bar and say, "Hey, the big guy, I'll bet you 100 that you can stand on my diaphragm and I'll bounce you," which
Well,
I always was able to do.
how did
Not
Bruce Lee, how did the great martial artists, how did they handle these were real, hits.
no
How
kidding,
would you do
no
it?
kidding.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's a type of protective strength you have to have in that
that's
core.
right.
Yeah.
And so I think the truth of the matter is there is a simple codification of feeling that we could all admit to if we just would
Yeah.
and drop I want to we drop all that silliness and I think the more clubs we have, certain organizations of teaching and so on, they just invent stuff. They just invent stuff to make them different. Uh, and it's not science in this. It's backed up by some science, but it's a pseudo art. It's a pseudo science, and it's just a whole lot of body feeling. And
Hmm.
you got to understand what that body feeling is and what it leads to. And then you've got to be directed by somebody who's been there. This is the other problem that people don't understand. They talk about it. I said, well, what has that teacher done? What is the shape of their career? What have they done? Is there anywhere you can hear them? So do they have knowledge just on their own?
Hmm.
And then who have they produced? Have they produced any working singers, or is it just one of these legends that went on for 30 years, who shall be nameless, that didn't produce all those many singers?
Hmm.
She just had a reputation of being a guru. There's no such thing as a guru. You either teach the person how to swallow and chew, or you don't. End of story. And so I think largely, and I'm just such crap going around with these H's and if you look at Bartley, and she's did she screw things up? And I'm not gonna reserve comment, because you don't H everything. You don't ask for it. Any boy playing cops and robbers can do that. Big deal. That's not what we do in singing. That's not what legato, coloratura, and fioritura is about. Yeah, sure, a couple aspirates now and then when something's real fast and your voice is thick and you want to make it, but that's not a general rule. You don't live for aspirate.
Yeah.
And so, we've just gotten off on, and just because you can do it, they get fans. People get fans. Oh, this is wonderful. No, it's not wonderful. It's a mess. It's wrong. It's just completely out there. It's as far out from a universe of great singing as anything could possibly be.
Would you say that legato is the same air pressure emission rate from moment to moment, more or less?
See, I don't think in those terms. That's a little too scientific for me.
So
There
would
can be there
the
can be
air
no
have
break.
no
There
break
can be
in
no
that?
break. Say if you're gonna ah, there's no break there.
Mm-hmm.
So what you really find is, where's the hoot? Ah, ah, ah. So you have the hoot consistently in process, and then you don't allow yourself any kind of break or any kind of reattack of the note. You go right in, vowel to vowel to vowel. That's all it is. Until
And
you understand that, and until you feel what that combo is. And agreed. See, that's the difficult combo. The pressure from the air column, the laryngeal balance, and the forward motion. We've all done that before separately as babies. Ha! Wah! We got squeal galore, but we rarely put it into those three balance beams. And that's what makes it an art and not a craft,
mm,
because that's a balance. And we have to find that balance every day. We wake up and we feel crabby and lousy and we don't want to get up and our body is sluggish. as we change, as we more or less hormone, and so forth. We have to rebalance it and find that out. That's why you need to work with somebody all your life that can help you to say that you're getting there, you're there, or that just isn't working today. Uh,
Yeah.
we need to we need to rebalance because that is something that we always have to be encouraged to do, to find that balance in our work.
Yes. That's
It's
really
like walking a tightrope.
so. And just so that I'm clear, and by the hoot you mean the resonating space and the pharynx, oropharynx.
Ho, hoot, straight tone. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
And then there's the vibrato, but it's on the hoot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not the vibrato occurs because of the air pressure. It occurs because you have the hoot that's going forward without the pressure that creates the vibrato, and then in comes that certain type of pressure that allows the vibrato to occur.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always on the hoot.
Yeah. That's so.
And the greatest singers, you always heard that hoot.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Who
only
let me push you
sure.
there. Who were some of your favorite artists? I mean, I know you had the incredible privilege of working with Rosa Ponselle. Who were some of your vocal hootists? Your favorite? I won't say the other way of saying hoots, but
Right.
who are some of your favorite?
Well, of course, Rosa. She was 78 at the time that I worked with her, and she could still sing up to an A flat that'd pretty much knock your socks off. Beautifully, beautifully. Stever, Eleanor Stever was arguably the greatest American soprano ever,
Wow.
um, I believe. Tibaldi in her younger years, before she got worried about people saying that she was singing too loudly and tried to hold that voice back, and there was no holding. It was a whomping big voice, and when she let it work, it was glorious. Still, I heard her oftentimes live, starting in the Cincinnati when it was in the music hall, and she sang the De Vieni very largely. I mean, this was a 30 at the time. It was 3,500 seats, and she filled the that hall like she was standing next to.
Magnificent that must have been a day
Oh, it was
from such an instrument. What a luxury.
Oh, it was, and then Corelli sang, and it was, all right. Why you not holding the high notes? And it's a little dark, and so compared that to Tucker, which was like whatever you thought of Tucker's acting, and blah, we all agree to that. But Tucker, when he went up for a B flat, it was like an A bomb. I mean, it was just a mushroom cloud of sound that got larger and larger and larger, and
Wow.
it would come at you and attack you. It was at
Incredible.
you. So I think Tucker. I will put Corelli in the Siepi, Pinza,
Oh, yeah.
Freni, of course, in her great period when she sang the Boca Negra back in the late 70s. There was no finer light lyric soprano than Freni. Um, I don't often put Leontine, and Leontine could come out with some wonderful things, but she could also come out with some hooping and hollering that was like, what? What? And so, she was a great soprano. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying she wasn't. And when she stuck to her repertoire, which was lighter than what she wound up doing, when you listen to her sound as she just graduated from Juilliard from like 58 to 62, 63, it was glorious. But
Mm,
then she added all that uh, chest voice sound. And it wasn't, I was in high school. I was just entering high school. And all the voice teachers in Dayton, mind you, were having a battle over this is wrong for Leontine to do this. No, this is right for Leontine to do. And I was there. I remember the arguments that it engendered at that time. And personally, I think some of it was wrong. She was not a dramatic soprano. She was a that pushed her voice into a bigger format. So, so was that the same as Tebaldi or Ferreni? No, not to me, not to me. Um, Tenor wise, Beniamino Gigli, because even though he was a light lyric, he still learned a way of letting his voice out that gave him the ability to be very interesting on Chenier, Menolescu, Canio, Pagliacci. So have to include him absolutely. Um, Again, you can talk about Björling, but Björling was a small voice and way too small to actually have a presence with Radames and things of that nature. Beautiful singer, but he should have stayed to the Fritz Wunderlich
Hmm.
uh, Fach.
Hmm.
Uh, Fritz kept a sound that was unique. Of course, he died early, when no one knows what would have happened eventually. But I think because he just had he had normalized what squillante in his voice was, and that was gorgeous. So I would put Wunderlich in there. Nikolai Yeda, of course. Um, uh, Dimitrova, especially when she sang mezzo, but sometimes a dramatic soprano. Um, um, Not Cosotto, but the other. I always forget her name. Mezzo.
Barbieri.
What?
Barbieri.
Oh, of course, Barbieri and Stignani, without doubt. Um, and Obrazova.
Oh my.
Uh,
Hmm.
yeah. Uh, these were magnificent singers, and of course Jerome Hines. What a voice that could do the trumpet chow sound.
Incredible.
Anybody wants to hear what a Schwarze really is and what a great bass can do, listen to the 61 recording of the trumpet chow sound.
I had the pleasure of meeting him when I was like a child. I was 18 and he came to give a class. He might have been
I
92 at the time.
bet.
And he was as spry as he could be.
Yeah,
He was so charming and told so many jokes, and
yeah,
he had all of the teenagers in love with him.
yeah.
He was just
Of course.
incredible. And he'd come to do a cameo of Sarastro at New Orleans Opera. That's
Oh yeah,
but
sure.
and he sang brilliantly. I mean,
Oh yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Who can do that?
I know. It's into their way into their 70s.
Uh,
Uh, it
Yeah,
was quite amazing.
incredible. What would you tell Maestro, a young singer, someone 18, 19, 20, just entering the industry now? What advice might you give them?
Well, first of all, it will be negative advice. Don't. If you love
Like,
money, if you will love comfort, if you love stasis, don't do this because you won't have any of that. You might not have children. You might not have a relationship, or you got too many relationships in every port. Uh, so, if you want a life other than singing, don't do it.
hmm
But if you're willing to put everything on the line for that, then you will have a most magnificent obsession. And that's what it truly is. It's a magnificent obsession. And it will be a life of constant work, of constant travel, hardship, financial instability. Um, and if you get lucky, you might have a little bit more. You might find a mate. You might develop some real friends and not just ships that pass in the night. Um, so that would be the first thing. You have to make up your mind. Am I willing to run away from everything to go to the circus? Because that's what it is. It's a circus.
hmm
And I have to be willing to turn my back on everything I've ever known and run away to that circus and stay there as long as I can. Then prioritize what you're trying to learn. Are you trying to get a degree to teach, or are you trying to have a career? If you're trying to have a career, it's no different than learning about cars or learning about cooking. That's what you need to learn. So you need to learn how to sing. There have been plenty of singers that learned how to sing when they were 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. In fact, most of the older singers were already quite accomplished by the time they were 23. So this idea that, oh, you have to wait forever to do, no, you don't have to wait for anything. You have to learn your repertoire. So if your voice isn't right for this, you will destroy your voice. Whether it's too big, too loud, too small, too high, too low, you will destroy your voice. So you have to learn your Fach and you have to learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That means you need to go find a teacher who can teach it. If you and okay, take an online course to get your bachelor's, from Arizona State University. So you've got something there, and then forget about the rest of it. If you need it later because you give yourself 5 or 6 years and nothing happens, then you might want to think about going back to school and getting that precious piece of paper, terminal piece of paper, so you can have a good teaching job before you're 35.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to give yourself those years. Tom Booth, a wonderful tenor, was one night before he had determined he was going to give it up. He got nothing, nothing until the last audition, the day before he was going to give it up. And that's what started him. He got the audition, he got the job, and he didn't look back.
Wow.
So you have to be very practical minded and not try for everything. And the reality is, most of the people teaching, as Jerome Hines said in his book, we teach to mediocrity. The universities teach to mediocrity. They do not teach to excellence. It is not in their interests to do that. So they don't find teachers who are of that quality. They don't find teachers, like Callas said, a great teacher teaches to the future of the student,
Mm-hmm.
not to where they are,
Mm-hmm.
not to the present. I'm paraphrasing her, but that's the essence of it. And so I would say get on the program of learning how to sing. Great teaching, study it, work it, learn your repertoire, and then you can do no wrong once you do that. That's why singing Canio at 24 didn't hurt me at all. On the contrary, it built me with every time I did it, because that was what was right for my voice, even though I didn't know that at the time. I mean, I suspected it because it felt great, but I didn't actively know that. And that's what we need to know. We need to know where we belong. Should you be singing Rodolfo? Should you be singing Edgardo? Or should you be singing Siegfried? Because if you're one of those things and you sing the wrong thing, you will destroy your voice. End of story.
So determination and correct guidance.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is an art form that has to be led. It's led like a craft, but it's an art form of balance, of walking those tight ropes.
Mm-hmm.
The only good news is if you fall off, nobody's going to die,
Mm-hmm.
at least immediately. You might die because you're not hired again and you have no money to put food on the table. So down the line, you might die, but you're not going to die that night.
Wow. Thank you so much for giving me this little window on a Friday of your time.
Oh, I was
So much.
just totally happy to do it.
Thank you. I
As
could
you can
talk to you
tell,
forever. I have so many other questions, but I'm going to keep it concise. But
well, let's do volume two.
let's do volume two. Yeah.
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 And anytime you want me to come down and do master classes, I'd love to.
Okay.
I'd
Yeah.
love to.
I would be
I
very
used to
interested in
sing a
that.
lot in Texas.
Yes, I read that in your bio. That actually was your first Canyo here in Houston, or
No, the first conure was at Eastern Shore Opera, which was Mr. Purdue, Mr. Chicken.
oh,
Remember the Purdue chicken? And
yeah,
he
yeah,
looked
yeah.
like a chicken. And he sounded like a chicken. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
but that was actually my first conure. No, no, it was a butterfly that I
Oh,
first did
butterfly.
with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I
back
remember.
in the Pinkerton
Italian.
days.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. And I want to sing with you.
Okay,
That's
well,
gonna happen. I'm gonna make that happen.
okay, well, so just call me or I'll call you to remind you, and let's do that, okay?
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, dear. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Give
Lots
my
of fun.
best to your beautiful wife.
All right, yes, Sharon is hanging in there and just looking forward to the next decade.
Yeah, we love her. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye,
You
Maestro.
take,
Bye.
bye-bye.